G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake and welcome to 2.0 base building time. As you're most likely aware by now, in 2.0 the devs have added a new zombie mechanic where they can crawl out of and through one block high spaces. So for today, I want to look at what that means for our Horde base fighting positions. For the last few alphas, if I was short of time or just wanted to go with my old faithful build, my setup was always the pole double on the bottom and top rows and the pillar 0.05 meter double for the middle row, which provided the best opening through which to fight, where the zombies typically wouldn't make it through. In 2.0 though, with the ability for zombies to crawl through 1 meter block spaces, this presents a major issue as zombies can now crawl through this gap with ease, especially during Horde night where they're all piled up. So for today, I want to look at some options for a new fighting position that should hopefully manage a few different factors. First up, it's got to stop the zombies getting through, or at least, if we can't stop them completely, minimize it so that it's a pretty rare case when it does happen. The second requirement is that we have to be able to hit the zombies' heads, especially since I, like everyone, probably wants to have a play with the new Sledgehammer build where the Sledge Saga Volume 5 book gives double XP for Sledgehammer headshot kills. This is something that we're going to have. The third requirement is for Copspit protection. Just how easily will Copspit penetrate the defenses? And lastly is protection. How much damage will the blocks take? Is it higher or lower than normal? Do the zombies get stuck on blocks and smash through them quickly? Or do they target one block in particular? That type of thing. So those are our criteria that we're looking for. And to give us a baseline, I'll start by testing the old base before we start looking at new options. To begin with, let's look for how many zombies make it through the defenses on the old base. To do that, I'll be sitting back here in the safety bunker and hiding while running the first hour of a Horde night to see how many zombies get through. Okay, here come the zombies in now. Running in from the sides. And here's where they start to pile up on the frontal defense position. Let's see how long it takes before... Oh, there we go. That didn't take... And another one. That didn't take very long at all. 10 minutes, and most of that was waiting for the zombies to run in at the beginning of the Horde night. So, we've had 2 through so far. There's your third. We'll see how many we get through within that first hour. See, they're beating on the walls, stacking up on each other. That one's another one, and that one didn't even crawl, he just sort of appeared through. They're coming through thick and fast now. Some of them are crawling, some of them seem to be crawling through the bottom area, which is unusual. The double poles usually keep them out, and some of them are even just sort of sliding straight through the defense, or at least that's what the animation looks like. At this point, I hope editing me can put up the count, because I've lost count of how many have come through. And I'll speed things up from here. We'll race that through till the end of the first hour at 11 o'clock, and we'll see how many got through. Okay, next up, we've got to check out how the defenses held up. So the top block took about 800 damage. The middle block took about 600 damage, a little bit to the sides, but not much to matter. And the bottom block seemed to be the one that got targeted. It's taken off half health at 2500, keeping in mind that zombie block damage is at 25%. That would have been smashed through within that first hour. So that took a lot of damage, that one. But the rest of them held up pretty well. Next up, we need to test how the base feels in terms of actually swinging and fighting the zombies. So, rerunning Horde night after repairing up the base, let's see how it feels. Obviously, this setup was used through previous alphas because it gives a nice wide open swing, and as you can see, it's really easy to target the zombies as they move around and hit their heads. And there we go, sliding straight through the blocks already. That's what's wrong with this one. We've got some zombies that aren't bees, I know, but I call them zombies because they're bees. They're still coming through thick and fast. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. We're out of stamina. Need to reload. Oh, should have bandaged. Bandage now. And that's game over. So the last test we have to do for the old base is just to check how it holds up for cop spit, and as you can see, even though that missed us and went either side, it comes straight through pretty easily because of the big wide gap. Okay, so that base is the old base. One of the alternate options that I've seen people use already is the straight pole double, which should stop zombies pretty much getting through. There's not much of a gap left because it takes off both the top and the bottom of the 1 meter block space. So I'll place those in there now, and let's rerun our test to see how many get through in the first hour of Horde night. Here we go. Starting to get the first few. What do you reckon? Gonna keep them all out all night? Looking good so far. Here comes a big pile on though. And that one has kind of stealthed through, didn't actually crawl through, just kind of got pushed. He seemed to crawl under, so that's 2. He crawled through the bottom. Nurse through the middle or top. Spider that went through and then backwards and didn't, so that's 3 so far, not counting that spider. Another one through the bottom, another one through the middle, or all of the blocks and just sort of pushing through. That's 5. Definitely more than I was expecting on this build. So I think from here, we might just speed things up and let it run through, and we'll come out the other end with a count. Time to check for damage again. Start again from the top. 400 damage on that middle top block. 900 on the middle block, which was about the same as last time, and only about 1700 on the bottom block. So this one fared a little better in terms of overall damage, but mostly the same as that first one up. Next, let's do the headshot test. Just got to wait for the zombies to come through. Now this will be a little bit harder than previous ones because of the thickness of the double pole block. It's going to make it a little bit harder to target both the shorter zombies at the bottom and the taller zombies at the top of their space. See there, we can get the headshots in pretty well, at least for the average size zombies. You don't get as much flexibility as you do. There you go. Hitting the blocks. Not as much flexibility as you did with the old base because of the compressed size. So when they do get tall, and they do sneak through like that, sometimes you will hit the top of the block if your aim's a little bit off. In terms of cop spit protection, let's see how that goes. It goes straight through. Okay. Face full of cop spit proves what happens there. At least when they've got a clean shot at you. So the next thing I got to test, because I know I'll get a lot of complaints if I don't, is the Scaffold Ladder. This has been identified as pretty much the go-to block if you want something quick and easy that will both allow you to fight through, allow you to reach through, and block all of the cop spit. The only drawback I'm expecting for it is how big the gap is for us to hit our headshots, but to make sure that everything's working, let's do a first test and see how many zombies can get through. Okay, here we go. Nurse up nice and quickly. There's a little bit of variance in how long the zombies take to get to the fighting position that will affect things, but hopefully not too much. As expected, we're not seeing any zombies get through so far. Zombies are pushing against it. Almost look like they're going to get through, but then they get pulled back to the other side. So let's speed this up, run that through and see if it's 0 by the other time we get to the other. Oh, actually, just before we do that, there is one zombie that's gone over the top there. Now, I'm not going to count that as a zombie making it through, because that's just an easy fix by making an extra higher wall or putting the usual kind of ramp blocks inverted to knock the zombies back when they try and come over the top. I didn't want to put that on this base just because it makes it a little harder to see what's going on. So throughout these tests, whenever a zombie goes over the top, I'm not going to count it because I expect that most people playing will build a defense for that for themselves. So let's check the damage to this one, starting again from the top. About 700 on that one. About 1200 on the middle block, which took more than the other tests. And 1400 on the bottom block. So if anything, the Scaffold Ladders actually took a little bit more damage than both of the previous bases, which is an interesting sort of outcome. Not catastrophic, of course, but taking that much early on in the first hour could be a bit of a drawback. Okay, let's check our swing testing. As you can see straight away, the biker's head is pretty much right where that bar in the Scaffold Ladder is. And this is the main thing that I don't like, personally, about Scaffold Ladder bases. Just where you want to hit. I know you kind of got to adjust your aim a little bit and hit kind of where their chin is. Oh, he's going to try and force his way through. There we go, he did make it through, but only because he got ragdolled by us and then pushed through by the other zombies. That's something that can happen a lot with these type bases, but as you can see, it is possible to get headshots, but particularly on the taller zombies, it's a lot harder than it is, or at least was, on the previous bases. In terms of cop spit testing, I think this one's been done a fair bit outside of this video, and I don't need to cover it all here, but basically we already know cops won't be able to spit through the Scaffold Ladders. So with that done, it's time to look at some new base designs. What I want to try is using a slightly different model at the bottom with the pole plate half block around the edges, or around the corners like this, and rotate it to the bottom in the middle, which will block crawlers from coming through, but allow us to get a little bit better shots on anything that's ducking down. On the edges, we're going to use the pole double top block, rotate it around just like this to block off the edges, and the other way on the other side. And that's going to give us our base defense, which gives us a nice big opening in the middle for the cube pole side centered block. Rotate it around just to the middle there. That's going to fill up that gap, use up a little bit of that space where the zombies are going to climb through, but give us a nice huge opening in the middle for us to swing. Okay, here they come. Hopefully they don't just run straight through the middle, but I don't think they will, just because that little cube block really blocks up that space nicely. Right at the bottom middle of the space where the zombies want to run through. You can see they're all getting choked up and can't make it through. So this one's actually not looking too bad. Oh, we've made it over the top. We've put that double pole top block possibly in the wrong orientation. You need it that way to block off the top of the space, but it's a little bit too open perhaps. So we did have one get through that top section, but so far none through the middle. Oh, there we go. There's our first one. So one has made it through. One going over the top now, which won't count. Ignore him. And a spider's just made it through, so that's two. Oh, and a third. Coming through thick and fast. Oh, and a fourth. The fifth and a cop. Okay, so maybe more than I would like are going to make it through this one. Potentially a little too big, that space. But that small cube block is designed to give us plenty of space to swing. So we'll speed this up, see how many make it through the whole first hour. Let's check for damage, starting with the top of course. We've got about 400 on the middle block, a little bit on the sides, only about 900 on the block on the bottom, and about 200 in the middle. So that's probably the least damage overall, particularly on the key blocks on the bottom and the middle. Stuff on the edges doesn't really matter because they're not going to break through there very well at all. But yeah, that's surprisingly good on the damage front. Now the swing test I expect to be also pretty good because there's just so much space. It's almost a 4 meter cube blocks open just with that little side-centered cube in the space blocking things up and stopping the zombies coming straight through. As you can see, pretty much as expected. Really easy swings, really easy headshots. Oop, and really easy for spiders to come through. No! Okay, so really easy, really useful until it's kind of not. Okay, that's enough of that. For cop spit test, I expect it to also be really easy and useful for them to be able to spit straight through the middle. That one managed to get blocked. Let's try another one. See how this one goes. As expected, straight through the middle. Okay, so that's not going to block cop spit. Surprise, surprise. So that one might have been a little bit too open. Next one we're going to try, we'll start with the pole plate half again in the middle. And this time we're just going to go with the pole plate top, sorry, the pole double top on both sides, all the way up the sides. Just to block them up nicely. They should stop all of the zombies from being able to get through there. In the top, we're going to go with another pole plate half. Just rotated the other way around, just so we've got a nice little spot to shoot through. And then for the main defense on this one, we're going to use a nice easy one to say, which is the ramp incline inside corner filler double. We're going to use this twice. First up on the inside, we're just going to pop it there like that at the bottom, and that nice little V shape is going to give us the ability to hit the smaller zombies on their heads. And then I'm just going to cheat and scoot through here, and then we'll put the second one back facing it on the top. So I call this one the diamond because of the shape that we give the fighting position. And it should be noted, of course, that because we put one on the front, unlike the other bases, we're relying on sort of an extra block on this one, and it also means that you can't double up the defense. You can't put 2 layers of it because of the requirement to have 1 block on the front side. From there though, let's start off and see how many can make it through this one. Here we go. A couple of zombies straight away at the front. Spiders are there early, which is always a good or worrying sign because they tend to sneak through pretty easily. Now the downside of also having that frontal block rotated the way we've got it is it gives a nice platform for the zombies to stand on. You can see 2 of them up there already. But so far, no zombies pushing through or making it through that diamond shape. Is a cop stuck in there now? No, he's not stuck anymore. So there we go. So they can get through this one. That diamond shape is pretty much a 4 meter high right in the middle, which is the point. It gives us the best height for finding the zombies. That's 2 through so far. Let's speed this up and see how many get through. Okay, let's go check defenses. For those that noticed that one, a little bit different on this one. We lost a block right at the top of the bulletproof glass. If I can get a cube shape, I'll show you what I mean. Pop that up there. There we go. You can see we lost that one, which hasn't happened in any of the other bases. And that's again, primarily because of how they can stand on that block. As you can see though, very little damage sort of to those middle blocks. Maybe it's because they were all standing at the top and doing lots more damage to that top block, but overall there's something about these blocks that seem to reduce the amount of swings or the damage that the zombies do. So that's certainly something that it's got going for its favour. Moving on to our headshot swing testing, let's have a look and see how this one feels. Nice easy one to start with. Oh, I probably didn't need that second swing where I clattered the base. It She was already unconscious. Going better. There we go. So as you can see, nice easy headshots. Shoot as well. Oh, no. That's what we didn't want. Oh, and another one. Okay. And another one. What's going on? This is almost worse than the test was. Now sometimes it is worse when you knock them down and ragdoll them and they get pushed through, but that wasn't a good indication, I don't think, of how well that base works. Let's move on to spit testing. And I'm assuming that especially if they're right at the front. Nope, that one got blocked. Let's try that again. I would actually expect this to allow spit to get through, particularly if it's a straight shot straight down the middle. Like that. Anything off to the sides is going to get blocked, but a straight shot straight down the middle, if you're just standing there, is going to get you. So we're making progress and reducing the amount of zombies that are getting through, but they're still making it through because ultimately we've got almost a 1 meter block high gap right in the middle for the zombies to crawl through. So I think for this one, what we need to do is try and remove that by filling in that space just a little bit so that the zombies can't crawl through, but we can still get nice easy headshots. So just putting in the default blocks that I've sort of come up with that are generally pretty good, still allow us to see outside, still allow us to fight pretty well, put them in place like that. And now it's just a question of what do we want to put in the middle. To avoid the zombies sort of standing on the block, I'm going to use a plate this time. Gable inverted plate offset. And if we grab that and just pop it at the bottom of the space like that, that's going to give us the little area for us to swing through for the short zombies. And on the front, we could just pop it through like that, but that's exactly the same kind of shape as the diamond. It's actually a nicer way of doing the diamond than the previous block. So instead, on the top, we're going to use the plate half gable block and rotate that around just to kind of fill in space. There we go. And that's just going to reduce that 1 meter gap space in the middle there just a little bit, and hopefully enough for the zombies to no longer be able to squeeze through. It still gives us a nice wide swing angle through that V-like shape in the middle. Okay, zombies are a little later coming this time. They've all been held up behind somebody. Here they are now. Nobody's squeezing through yet, but skateboarder going over the top, so we'll ignore him. Another one going over the top. Ignore both of those. So far so good. That extra little block just taking up that space is hopefully going to result in no zombies crawling through, but it certainly seems to have minimized it quite nicely. Okay, so that was successful. No zombies making it through. In terms of damage, a little bit of damage up the top. 1500 to that gable block, and only a little bit to the inverted one. And the usual sort of damage to the bottom. So 1000 there, 1500 there. So that's a little concerning that that took so much damage. It's the first time we've seen damage to those upper blocks. But again, not too bad, given that we're running that sort of unattended and not fighting the zombies. Next up, the important bit. Can we get our headshots with this? Given that the half gable at the top there is the same size as a pole block, it could actually be just as difficult as the double pole that we tested second. Somehow, despite having no one come through during the testing, had a spider come straight through and some cop spit get through on the side there. Go back to testing our headshots, and so far it's not too bad. Although that point sticks down a little bit, some of the zombies are ducking their heads a little bit as well, which makes it easier. and otherwise it's kind of no different, kind of not too bad. Just waiting for some taller zombies here. Oh, I hit the block that time. Just aimed a little bit too high. Again, completely my fault, but that's the sort of thing that's going to happen. We've got Big Mama that just squeezed through there because of the ragdoll. It's okay. You do just have to aim a little bit down, so it's not as good as the other bases, but obviously much better at preventing zombies from coming through. In terms of spit test, how does this one look? Well, much the same as the others. Straight shot will come straight through and hit you. So to look at the last option, we'll go with our usual blocks, but this time I'm going to put the pole block there at the bottom because that should give us the ability to block up that extra bit of space, the height that the zombies need to crawl through. And this time we'll go back to our Gable inverted plate offset block and rotate this one around for the top this time, because it's the top where we need the extra height for the headshots. So that should give us a better angle for the zombies, and hopefully that bottom section where the pole is going to fill up the 1 meter gap just enough that the zombies can't make it through. Only one way to find out though. Let's give it a test. Okay, here we go. Zombies at the fighting position. So far so good, nobody making it through. Let's speed this up and see how we end up. Okay, so we did see that zombies can occasionally make it through, but not regularly. So let's have a look at damage. Again, that top block took a fair bit. Poles taken about 1400 and the bottom one about 1000. So it does take a little bit of damage, but potentially this might be the best combination of ability to swing for the amount of zombies that can make it through. But to test that, we need to see whether or not we can get our nice headshots. Oops, spider up early. But didn't make it through. Nurses made it through. That's not good. Like we saw in the testing, they can make it through. These come over the top, which we would normally prevent by just adding some extra height to the base, and that problem goes away, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. The rest of it, despite massive piles up, we're not getting them through with this setup really either. We had one out of stamina. So as you can see, they do pile up, but for the most part this is pretty solid. Final test for Cop Spit, although I don't expect any difference on this one. There is a huge gap there, and it should go straight through. So with the new 2.0 crawl mechanic, there's obviously a need to change up how you build your fighting position. Unless of course you're a fan of the Scaffold Ladder, in which case that's still a very viable option to use. Personally, I find the opening a little too small for my terrible aim, so for now at least I think I'll be using the pole and gable plate setup, given that it lets very few zombies through and gives a nice wide opening to swing. In particular, if you combine it with a side-centered pole, which results in the zombies falling off to the sides more easily than on a full cube block, this wider fighting setup allows for nice easy combat with only a full straight Cop Spit likely to get through, which will be difficult for them to get with all the other zombies moving around. Anyway, I hope this has been useful and given you some inspiration for new fighting positions for 2.0. If you found a better option that I've not listed, please let me know in the comments below. There's always creative and effective options out there that are familiar to you that somebody else hasn't seen. Thanks as always to my awesome patrons for their support. Thanks to you for watching this video, and happy Horde nights.